Welcome to The Natural Healing Reel. I'm Jackie, and my guest today is Lili McGovern. She is a passionate, creative frequency coach. And I don't know exactly what that is, but we're going to find out because it sounds totally amazing. She has many other credentials behind her name for healing. I am really excited for the conversation. Hi, Lili.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
talk about, my passions and what the climate is today in the world and how our listeners, whoever's listening, can tap into their own beautiful creative frequency, like we're talking about here today. And it's the frequency of change and transformation. And we're all being called to change and transform with these trying times. So that's the conversation that we're going to have today.
Awesome. I'm excited. All right. So let's start with, what is a passionate creative frequency coach? Sounds really amazing.
What is a creative frequency coach? Well, it used to be called a certified creatively fit coach, which meant that we're practicing both sides of our brain with creativity, helping us become mentally fit, because creativity naturally awakens the right side, generally speaking, the right side of our brains, which don't get practiced much today in our logical, linear, rational, get it done society, right? And where it's all about producing, doing, and doing a good job, and doing beyond a good job, doing 300%, and getting stressed out. And then we go home and we have obligations with our families after performing all day at work. And so where can we find a little respite? Where can we find our intuition? Where can we find our imagination? And so I invite people into a sacred daily creative practice so that they can remember that they are an infinite, eternal creator that has control and volition over their movements in this world and what they're creating in their lives.
Wow. And so you're doing this through painting.
Through painting, mainly painting, sometimes doodling. I also do something called neurographica, which is a marriage between self-coaching, psychology, graphic arts, and neuroscience. And it's all connected. I think the creative frequency, it doesn't matter how you're creating, just as long as you're creating rather than consuming. Because we're consuming so much information these days. We're being barraged, right? People are overwhelmed in information. They're drowning in it, and they're longing for transformation. And I was the same way. And that's why I was looking for solutions for the problems in my life. That's why I have so many certifications. It's because I'm trying to paper over that broken heart that, grew up with a lot of trauma and drama. And I majored in psychology because I wanted to figure out, how can we stop suffering and why are we doing the things that we're doing? So, and my studies have never stopped ever since I got out of school, ever since I saw, actually, you want to hear a story?
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, my mom had remarried an alcoholic, and our whole family dynamics had changed because of that. But one day during my senior year, right before we graduated, Mothers Against Drunk Driving came in, and they mapped out my family on the whiteboard there. And I was just like floored, because I didn't know that anybody else lived like this. I didn't know that there was an organization called Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I didn't know that people talked about their feelings or the dynamics of what was going on. And it all fascinated me and horrified me. And then it awoke in me this longing, to really figure things out. So I had to go to school to figure out what was going on. That's why I majored in psychology. But it was that initial just having an outsider come in and then talk about the problem, articulate it even better than I knew how to articulate it myself. And I was just amazed that that information was out there and that I could go find out more.
Right. Because once we understand and have, it's so big to have the knowledge.
Yeah. Well, not
How
just
is
the
that
knowledge, but also the awareness, right? The invitation to become more self-aware. And I think that when you're constantly fighting to survive, you just don't have that much time. You don't have time to indulge in feelings. And I used to think every time I cried, I was going to die. I literally felt like I was going to die, and I didn't cry very often. And so I wasn't in touch with my feelings at all until my dad passed away. And I'm sure you've had some people pass away in your life. That grief was just so all encompassing
A
and
wet blanket over top of your head when you wake
yeah.
up, and then
Yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden,
Well, it was kind of like, a lifetime of repressed emotions were coming out. Like I couldn't stop it from happening. So I was walking around meeting people and they would just look at me or say, "Oh, how are you doing?" Not knowing the background. And I would just burst out crying. And I would be horrified that I was showing emotion in front of people and that I couldn't control it. And so I went on a huge, long, that's kind of the deep dive into what are emotions? What causes them? How can we control them? How can we master them? Or can we? And, how can I heal myself from a lifetime of not looking at those kinds of things? I'm sure you maybe have a similar urge to kind of dive into the same subject matter.
I have been on a deep dive for a bunch of years now. Lots of loss and lots of brain traumas and yeah, lots of crying and trying to find a way out of that incredible deep spiral is it's tough. I am so grateful because I do feel that I'm actually on the other side, but it was like so many years of trying to find my way out. And like yourself, just and learning. And the more that I had the knowledge of what was actually happening, I found a lot of peace in that because then I was like, this isn't just me, right? Because you do, I think, start to feel like you're very alone. And how could anybody understand? You go to tell somebody what's happening and you sound crazy, right? And then you've got people saying, oh, she's crazy, right? It's like, okay, just be quiet, right? Because so I just feel that knowledge is, I don't know, it's important to know what it is that you're doing so you can navigate it, right?
Yeah, and I like how you described kind of that tornado that you get caught in. Because
Oh,
once we get caught in that, I call it the negativity vortex of despair. And, and it can come on at any second, right? You can be having a perfectly calm conversation with somebody, and then the next moment, for some reason, you guys are arguing, you don't know what's going on, and things are spiraling down. And I have just been studying for the last couple of years with an organization called Positive Intelligence. Have you heard of them?
no, tell me what's that?
So the premise is that as human beings, we only use about 20%, right, of our capacity, or how come we're not using our full capacity. So positive intelligence says that because of our negativity bias, we're always looking for what's wrong in the world and what's wrong with our life and what's wrong with our circumstances. In fact, when we start looking for what's right in everything and finding at least 10% right about anybody, anything they say, or our circumstances, and focus on that, we begin to feel better. Because if we're focusing on things that we don't like, that are negative, that feel wrong, we start to feel bad and judgy and critical and negative. And so the founder, Shirzad Shamin, he says our number one goal as human beings is to unconditionally love ourselves. And I just thought that was such a great goal for a human being, because I think I spent many years hating everything about myself, hating my body, hating the way I spoke, hating just, my whole presentation in the world, because I would compare myself to everybody else. Oh, how come I can't be a blonde, beautiful beauty like Jacqueline? So, it's this constantly looking outside of ourselves for validation, looking outside of ourselves to see how we compare, and just judging, right? So we all have this huge judge that's just constantly, for me, that's what was going on in my mind. And
No,
so,
that's a society thing for sure. I think that is going on all day long for most people. And doesn't matter how educated, how much money, that is a thing. And
well, I love that you said
that's
that.
our biggest problem, I believe, here.
Yes. Huh.
Navigate is self-love. I believe that's why we're here, is to learn to love ourselves.
Yes, and how many people have you met that have a lot of money and yet they're miserable? They're so miserable because it's never enough, and they're always afraid they're going to lose what they have. And so it doesn't matter money or not. We all have to drive around this human body. And how can we drive it around feeling good? How can we allow ourselves to feel great now rather than feeling great when I get the job, or when I have the house, or when I'm on vacation, or whenever, right? It's always never now. And now, as we know as coaches, is your point of power, and so much is happening right now. And that's truly all we have to work with, is this now moment. We don't know what's going to happen in the next day or the next hour or the next month. So let's be happy.
People are trying to control that, are they not? They're like, they're worrying about what's happened in the past, and then they're worrying about what might happen next, and totally missing out on being able to create. That's where the painting comes in.
Exactly. Yes, because
in the moment. Cool.
Yes, painting brings you present because you're manipulating something with your hands. You're using the material of the paint itself and water, and you're flowing on the canvas. So the kind of painting that I'm talking about, though, is exactly the opposite of creating a product. It's painting as a process, painting as an active meditation, and allowing yourself to be in the safety of this canvas, however big or small it is. The bigger, the more fun it is. But allowing yourself to be in front of the canvas and just follow every childish impulse that you want to do. Like in daily life, oftentimes we want to do a lot of things, but we usually don't, thank goodness. But in front of the canvas, you can do whatever you want, and you can remember, oh, I really like this. I really like the color purple that I was making the other day on the canvas. It started emerging as I was painting, and it painted in a lot of layers, and every layer gives you another opportunity to deepen into wherever you're at right now in your journey, because the painting becomes like a portal, like you're walking in through a doorway to your own subconscious. And then it also is a mirror, and it will reflect back where you are in your life, because you'll start to see symbols and shapes and things. And this is how we actually talk with ourselves and with our subconscious, is through symbology and through shapes, bypassing the rational mind, right? Not having to think of the exact words that we want to say. Or when somebody asks you how you're feeling, most people have about 5 emotions that they can bring up, right? Happy, sad, disgusted, surprised, yes, I'm mad, glad, and there's like 84,000 emotions. So for us to be able to articulate that, you either have to really study it, or you can just practice feeling all the emotions of the canvas, because you feel everything. When you make a mark and you're like, oh, that's ugly, and what are you going to do about it? Well, guess what? At the canvas, you can do whatever you want with it. You can paint over it. You can turn it into something else. You can leave it there and stare at it for a long time and let it bother you all you want. But at the canvas, you are God in your life and you're creating whatever your vision is. And it's a beautiful way to call in energies that you want to, as well as release emotions that are coming out of you.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, I remember when one of my children was younger, hearing about children having that practice for children, that they were going in and doing therapy, and that's what the children were doing. They were going in and they were painting or drawing. It's kind of that similar.
So therapeutic because kids are natural explorers and they don't have so many filters about what they should be doing or could be doing, and they throw themselves into things like 100%. And when you remember sitting outside and playing with the sand and making things, that's like our original way that we did
Patties
art,
in the
right?
back of my buddy's, yeah, in the back of my best girlfriend's house. Every day we were back in that sandbox. Yeah, yeah. Which I was
And
thinking
that's
about that
like,
yesterday because we were golfing, and golfing is another one. You have to just be in the moment to hit that ball properly. But I got into the sandbox, and I was thinking about my mud pies yesterday.
yeah, so it is, I think anytime we give ourselves the permission to be with ourselves for a few moments and create something, or just not even create something in particular. When I say create something, I'm just saying be there in the moment, creating something that you can see your existence made manifest. And you have like this beautiful record after you're done of, oh my God, I was here and I can remember exactly where I was in my mind, what I was thinking, what I was dreaming about, what I was working on. And there's just, I love holding things that I make in my hands. I'm one of those people. I guess I'm a touchy-feely person. And so I love just the texture of the canvas, the sound it makes. It sounds like a drum. It can sound like a drum. You can scratch your fingernails on it. And and then you can paint with your fingers. When you allow yourself to do whatever you want, the kid comes out in you. And so it just reminds you, you can play. I get to choose how I feel. I don't have to buy into whatever's happening around me. I can feel good. It's okay. Other people can choose to feel however they want to, because everybody's going through something in their lives. And I think I went through so many years of not allowing myself to play. I thought I had to be serious. I thought I had to be a good girl and please all my dad and my mom. But after he died, this huge weight lifted off of me of all the expectations that I thought I had to fulfill for him. And that's when I discovered painting as a process through my mentor, Whitney Freya. And she said, everything is here to love you. And when she said that, I thought, is this woman insane? What is she talking about? I lived in a world where I was afraid every minute of the day about something happening to me. Because CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, you get to a heightened state of vigilance, of hypervigilance. I mean, at night when I would sleep, I would worry about home intruders. During the day, I would worry about getting shot at the gas station or, going to the movies and getting shot. And it was just like there was dangers lurking everywhere all the time. And so I was only focused on the dangers as opposed to the opportunities, as opposed to what's happening right in front of me. But I would miss a lot. I missed a lot of my life just looking for escape exits and then also looking for the dangers, like who's that person? Are they going to attack me? What's going to happen? So it's been a huge relaxing of my nervous system for the past 10 years. And then in particular, the past 5 years, just breathing, reminding myself to take a deep breath in through my nose, all the way down to my belly, and then exhaling longer than I inhale. And doing that quite a few times over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. That whole living in the fight or flight, I But I came to the understanding and realization that I have lived most of my life there as well, but not really knowing that I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't think there was anything wrong with me.
Yeah.
I thought I was fine until I started getting my throat. Something was wrong with my throat. And I was like, what's wrong with my throat? I can't swallow. And I went to the throat doctor. I went to the doctor. Then I went to the throat specialist. And everybody was like, there's nothing wrong with your throat. And I went to the psychiatrist and they said, it's a psychosomatic manifestation of your anxiety. And I said, what? I'm not anxious. What are you talking about? And then I noticed the minute I started thinking about something, like meeting a new person or doing something uncomfortable, my throat would close up. And I was like, oh my God, I have anxiety. This was completely new to me. And of course, I tried to medicate it away, and that didn't work because you take one medication for something and then you get the side effects. And so you could take another medication for the side effects. And pretty soon I was on 3 or 4 medications, feeling miserable, depressed, dizzy, nauseated, and just, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust the world. And so I finally had to figure out how to go walk through the world working with my own internal thinking patterns, because I think what it comes down to is what I believe is whatever you believe is what you're going to manifest. And so, if you see the world as being a terrible place that you have to constantly defend yourself against, it's going to be a terrible place that you constantly have to defend yourself against. But I'm being loving, living in the world where everything is happening for me and life is here to love me.
Wow. And I believe that most of us are living in that fear state, and even such a heightened one since the COVID.
Well, that was what it was intended for, right?
I believe you're right.
The big human experiment.
Right, because it just lowers our whole energy system, and that's when we get sick, and that's right, like nothing's working, everything is, it's such a lower frequency, hence your frequency, creative frequency. Yeah.
You got it. Yeah, that's why now more than ever, I think I feel like it's almost a new renaissance, right? This period where people can be creative. We have at our disposal so many resources, and then so many reasons why we can create, because there are so many problems in the world, and we all know you can't solve the problems at the same level of consciousness that created them. And so how do you get into a different level of consciousness? And that's where I come in with the pattern interrupt of a painting practice, which is so different from what you're normally doing in your day-to-day life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is so great. I love that, because to just know that, okay, so I know that I need to go, and this is where I'm at, right? And I'm living here. So how do I get over here? Right.
Yeah.
And understanding that it's a choice, and there's work to do there for all of us, right? A daily practice of whatever you choose that resonates with you. This is awesome.
Yes, and I think a daily practice is necessary. I've been chanting for 36 years now, morning and evening. And when I first started practicing, they were like, this is a lifelong practice, chant this every day, morning and evening. And I'm like, I'm never going to be doing this for the rest of my life, but I like doing it now. And it surprises me as much as anybody else that I'm still practicing after all these years, because it's been my through line, the thing that's steady throughout my whole life. And now that I found my painting practice as well, I do that as well. And I also do as much as I can moving my body, because physiology is the leader in what's going to change your state. And right? With Amy Cuddy and body postures, and we can change our state just by changing our bodies. And that's another thing with painting. It's like, it gets you you usually have to get up and go to a different place. And maybe you're standing at the canvas, whereas you would maybe just be sitting all day in front of your computer. So getting up and changing and moving with walking or painting or just moving your body in general is so important these days. And because we're so glued to our devices and for me in particular, the computer. So I need something where I have to get up and go do something else.
Yeah, I know I do this chakra dance and of Gaia. It's so awesome, and it really does. It clears out that there's all the different chakra, right, that she goes through. But with the type of the music that's played, and then I just follow whatever she does. But it really cleans and clears you up and energizes you. It's pretty incredible.
That's awesome. I think I bought a course on Daily Om with the chakra dances.
Yes, that's
Oh,
it.
that's it. Awesome.
Oh yeah, it's so good. And then when I'm doing it, oh, why don't I do this every day? Because you know what I mean? Like, you kind of forget or whatever, right? But it's really a powerful, whatever the music is that she's playing and whatever it is that she's moving. And it's kind of, you kind of feel like you're a little bit of a jungle girl, right? Which is kind of fun. But I get just that energy of moving to get things flowing. It's so important, isn't it?
Yes, 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 yes. I love it all. I think for many years I didn't dance or move my body either. And then, like 5 years ago, when all this started, I had a Kundalini experience. And after that happened, I was like going out dancing every night. I was almost every night I was out dancing because I was just so happy. I had a body. I was alive. My body was pretty healthy. I could still move it in all directions. And when the music played, my body just moved of its own accord. I had almost no control over it. So it's been 5 years of reining in that beautiful energy that I felt during that event and focusing enough so that I can also invite other people to have that experience, that same lovely, inner awakening where you get in touch with who you truly are. You remember your power. You remember that you're a creator, and you remember that you came here to play and have fun and experience both the good and the bad, because we have to have both. We have to have the contrast.
Right. We do. Otherwise, if it's sunny every day, we don't know, we're not enjoying it. It's just sunny every day. But
Well, we might enjoy it, but we're not going to
raining
enjoy
and the sun's going to come out later, I'm going to be so happy because I'm like, oh yeah, the sun's out.
I think that's why we like living here in Washington, is because, oh my God, when the sun comes out, I am so grateful and thankful for that warm sunshine.
Me too. And the beauty of where we live, right? I live in Canada across the line from you, but just
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
mountains and yes, pretty much God's country for sure.
Yes,
The whole thing is
I think this is the most beautiful place I've ever lived, especially in Bellingham. It just has the most different variety of trees that I've ever seen, and leaves, and it just explodes with greenery, and it's green all year round. I lived in Alaska for 10 years, and oh my gosh, during the winter we got so color starvation, right? Starvation mode, color desperate, that when April would come and the plants would bloom, it would be like, oh, that's too much color. What's happening?
Oh, interesting. And then you don't get don't have the daylight there for part of the year. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, I didn't do it very well. I ended up very depressed by the time we left Alaska. And
How does everybody not end up depressed there?
well, I think everybody acknowledges that we all get a little depressed in the winter and very manic in the summer. And so Bellingham is great. It's almost like, between, I came from California, so between California and Alaska, Bellingham's like the happy medium.
Yeah. Well, I always say that I live in the California of Canada.
Oh, nice. That's a great way to describe it.
The most beautiful place, I believe, that is in Canada. So, and this is rainforest as well, right? So
Yes, it feels definitely like
yeah.
I just love light. I love the because living in California, California is a desert and it's very dry. And so when we came up here, just it's just so moist and humid and alive. It just feels alive.
So talk to me about Croatia. What's happening there with, you got something coming up in September 22nd to October 1st.
I do. It is a 10-day mindfulness and creativity retreat. And my business partner, Callie Rose, the Rainbow Warrior Mermaid, she had bought some property a couple years ago in Croatia and had a retreat. And then I met her through the Positive Intelligence Organization, and she told me about her retreat. And I said, I want to go there. I'd never been. I had no idea where Croatia was or what it would be like. And we did a retreat last year, and I fell in love with it. It was just so amazing. It was. I feel my energy rise, and just it's like you're walking around in a daydream. Like everywhere I looked, felt like home. And we were there right after the tourist season, which is when we're going to be there this year. And so it wasn't crowded. So I had like it felt like I had the whole island to myself because the locals were tired from a busy summer. And so I was hiking along the road, swimming every morning in the Adriatic Sea. It's beautiful turquoise, crystal clear waters, pulling up and finding little treasures and creatures, and meeting the locals. And the locals are super down to earth, and most everybody speaks English, and they were just so welcoming. And so I just fell in love with this place because it's magical. And I've talked to several other people, and they're like, yeah, it's like the undiscovered, used to be like Italy 30 years ago or something.
Yes, it's definitely on my bucket list. We were looking at it, and it was part of that we were supposed to be on right now, but it's actually coincided with my daughter's graduation, and so it was a no-go, unfortunately. But it looks unbelievable. And I love Europe. Love it. I've only been there once with my daughter, and I went. And we did a cruise with Dr. Dispenza, and we did like 10 different spots, and literally, I felt like I was home. It's so funny how that feeling is. And the food is very different there. Like my body, even though it looks the same, my body worked like it was just so weird how different everything felt. It's pretty spectacular. So, and that's like, it's not an expensive place either, is it? Is it inexpensive when you get there, or is there just parts of it that are?
Well, I think that, I think it used to be a lot less expensive than they changed over from I think it was a kroner or something like that to the euro.
Okay.
And in that transition, a lot of things got inflated. So it feels almost, I mean, it's still definitely less expensive, or compared to here, it's about the same. It's a little less. So, but it was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be cheaper.
Good to know. Good to know that.
Yeah.
Because there is so spectacular. It's so spectacular. Yeah. I watched on the YouTube, the videos, right? And they show you all the different places and terrains of all these different places. And oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's just what I like about the particular place that we're having the retreat at is it's island, and the base of the island is limestone. And so it's all white stone. And like there's no beach. There's only one beach that actually has sand on that island, I think. The rest is just broken up little rocks and pebbles. So it's very clean because there's no sand. And so the rock just into the beach from on rock. And it just feels very solid. And I don't think there's been any earthquakes there for a long. There's no sharks in the water. And it just feels timeless. It feels like people have been doing this lifestyle for, generations and generations and generations. And I think up in California as just feeling like, I from a broken home and not having any roots. I think that sense of history, I'm longing for that. I'm longing for some, solid foundations. And that's kind of, the drive with my thinking too, with my always going after more education is like, how can I solidify? How can I get enough information so that I can live my life and feel free? And I finally feel like you said, I don't know that we ever get over completely any of our, our griefs and our traumas. And when I look back at the lessons that I've learned from all of those things, and it gives me a great sense of appreciation to have come from very, very humble things to just feeling like I'm a normal, contributive citizen, doing my thing in society. That's all I ever wanted, was just normalcy, right? Just a sense of, oh, I'm normal. And come find out, there's very few people that are normal. We're all a little weird in our own wild ways. And how beautiful is that? And so, yeah, I just have a great sense of appreciation and gratitude and wonder for everything that I've been able to experience in my life up until now. And I feel like it's just going to keep getting better and better and better the older I get, because I don't have to do things the hard way anymore. I can do them the simple, more easy way.
Right. What you believe, you do receive. So I tell my kids at Christmas, well, if you believe, you receive. It's so true, right?
I think so. If you expect good things to happen in your life, then how, even bad things are going to happen, or, what is good and bad? Those are labels, right? What is good or bad? And that's our mind making meaning out of a situation that's essentially neutral. So we're these meaning making machines walking around making meaning out of whatever it is that we see. So we're always finding evidence of what it is that we believe. And so that's why it's so important for us to spend the time examining a few of those beliefs that we have and seeing how they make us feel. And that happens naturally at the canvas because you're with yourself. You can hear these things come up in your mind. And a lot of the time I spend with my clients is really, oh, what's coming up for you right now? And, you always have a journal handy when you're painting, because thoughts will come to you and you'll be like, oh, I can see this in a different light. Oh, that's what really happened. Oh, so you get all these beautiful insights and realizations because you're creating, because you're taking action.
Wow. Totally makes sense. Right. And the fact that I say like we can't see ourselves at all. And so how do you start this process of trying to see what it is that you need to work or shift? We need some kind of support or modalities. I just about 100%, because we just see what everybody else is doing. We don't realize that that's a mirror of what's, going on inside somewhere, right? We look at that, it's got nothing to do with me. Our ego is so big. Yeah.
That is so true. And, I've been in one tenets in Buddhism is that you take responsibility for your life, like every aspect of your life, because if it's out or it's impacting you some way, then there's got to be something there for you to look at, right? But even after practicing all those years, my knee-jerk reaction is to blame somebody else for something, or look at somebody else's life and go, wow, how come they're creating that horrific event or whatever? And I finally started asking myself a couple of years ago, wow, how come I'm creating that event in my life? That was a huge realization for me. That, I know everybody has to take responsibility for themselves, but still, there's I think a part of us always wants to feel special, always wants to feel like that doesn't apply to me, whatever it is. And I'm no special or no more extraordinary than any other person. I just pay attention a lot. I'm here. I like to play full out wherever I'm at and in head first. Because, these interactions like we're having right here are the most fun that I have in my life. And it's like, I didn't realize how rare opportunities can come up for us to have meaningful conversations like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I bet that we're shifting too now into, authenticity is the buzzword or whatever, but it really is like, the non-scripted, the non-perfect. I think we're tired of it, right? None of us fit into that box that we're all trying to get our big fat toe in, right? And, like none of us do, right? But everybody's trying to pretend that they do, and they're trying to stay. They don't speak up because don't want anybody to then look at them. And I think that there's a shift happening now. I really do. I know there's a lot of people that are still there, but I really do believe that people are realizing that in order to have a good life, that we have to be ourselves and trying to find who that is instead of trying to be what everybody wants us to be. That's the shift. And that's what you're doing. You've got a modality that's taking people right there to access that.
Yeah, because, when you go to the canvas and you choose your own colors, nobody's painting is going to look like your painting, even if you paint the exact same thing. That's the beauty of intuitive painting as opposed to like a paint and sip or something where everybody uses the same colors and you follow the numbers and it looks exactly the same. Here, it's like as you paint and the symbols and shapes emerge for you to follow that thread and have that insight or that feedback from, then you start to step into your confidence, your courage, your and your willingness to show up transforms all of your emotions, especially the pain, into something that can inspire somebody else, right? Somebody else permission to go create something. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. I think you can, when somebody looks at something like, what I've done back here, which is nothing. It's just like a first layer of freedom. But you can feel some of my energy. You can feel some of who I am, right? And I think that's the beautiful thing about this painting as a process is that every time in a class with a bunch of different people, when they hold up their paintings, their energy is like so there. And it doesn't matter what they've painted, they like it. It doesn't matter what it looks like to me or anybody else. And I think, oh, that's so magical that we love what we've created.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that a lot. I am interested in doing this work with you. And tell me how to do that when they don't live in Bellingham.
Well, you can find me online at my website, heartevolutions.com. And I'm in the process of rebranding to Powerful Joy. That's my LLC. And so I'm creating a new website. But right now it's heartevolutions.com. And I'm happy to connect with you in a quick call to see, where you're at, if what I have to offer you can serve you. And I will say, this painting practice can serve just about anybody, almost any age, and to help you develop your courage, to help you face hard times, and to help you remember who you are, which is an eternal, infinite creator. And I do have a gift for our listeners, and it's a permission slip. I don't have it with me here, but it's a permission slip to go out and create something in your life. So your listeners can print it out and hang it up just to remind themselves that they have my permission. They don't need it, but they have it if they do need it to go out and enjoy their lives right now and to go out and create the masterpiece that is your life and go to the canvas and just paint because you can. How wonderful is that we can paint because we can. It's so accessible these days, right? It only costs a couple dollars for paint, and you can go to the thrift store and find an old canvas to paint on, and you can just keep painting on that canvas over and over and over again.
Funny, after I lost my first daughter, my other daughter's boyfriend made me a whole bunch of easels. And I've never spent the time to do any, like, I draw stick men type things, you know what I mean? And so I started painting. And,
Nice.
and just the fact that I would just do it anyway was great because I was like, oh, okay, well, that kind of looks cool. Or, you know what I mean? So then I was realizing that I can. And
Awesome.
and even though I've never done it or whatever, I just, just haven't done it. That was the whole thing, right?
Well, that's all I hear you say when you say I literally can't draw or paint. It's like I haven't been practicing drawing or painting, right?
Yeah.
Because the minute we pick up a paintbrush and paint, we're painting. We're painters.
Right. Well, I was a hairstylist for 30 years. And so I would paint and cut and paint and create on the people.
Beautiful.
So
You're, yes.
never with a pen or a paintbrush, but there is a lot of goodness that you feel from that process for sure. I haven't done it for a while because I don't, moving around. But so here's the question. Do you do like the classes on Zoom or like how
Yeah. I was online and in person. So don't think scheduled right now online, and I do have an in-person summer solstice sound bath painting experience called Paint the Sound, where we're going to be joined by a beautiful sound bowl, Allie Leith, and she's going to play the bowls, and we're going to paint what we hear, marrying the two senses together.
Okay, those sound bowls are so incredible. Yeah, I've had an experience of that. It's really, really beautiful, and I love that.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and I do have a Facebook group called Powerful Joy. If anybody wants to get in on that, and I share, my paintings and processes and ways to get mentally fit, because I think that we all need to start practicing mental fitness as much as we practice physical fitness, right?
Right. Well, thought creates a feeling, and then the feeling creates a manifestation.
And we always have the same thoughts over and over and over again, right? And so we're practicing those thoughts. We're giving ourselves practice reps with those thoughts. So we have to interrupt that pattern. How do we interrupt that pattern so that we have some new thoughts? And that's what a painting practice offers you, is that opportunity to interrupt the pattern, stop, pause, and make a better or a new choice.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of thoughts a day, 50 to 80,000 or something, some crazy amount. It's usually the same thought you had yesterday. And so it just keeps us in that same spot, and we're not even aware that that's
right.
We're doing.
Yeah, and we're in the neural highway in our brain. Same thought, same action, same thought, same action. And I have to go to Dr. Joe, that progressive. He had a 3-day in Los Angeles in March. We have that in common too.
Nice. I love Dr. Joe. I saw him here in Vancouver a bunch of years ago, and I'm on my way to the Mayan Riviera for doing a week-long advance with them. Yeah, so excited. Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's such an amazing experience, that total deep dive for like a week. If you,
you cruise, right?
Yeah, I did that. I did long advance here, and then I did a cruise for 10 days with him. And I'll tell you what, that cruise ship was something else. The staff, they didn't want to stand. You get all those people vibrating at that high level. Holy.
That's kind of like, when we were talking about Croatia, that energy vibration, you could feel, like I could feel in the room with the 5,000 people at the end of 3 days. That's the same kind of vibrational frequency that I feel like I stepped into in Croatia.
Nice.
So,
yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. It really is. It's something that I don't know that you would experience otherwise. I'm not sure, but once you get a taste of that, then you're in search of, because you know that we're more than what we've been told we are, right? You know that there's something much bigger going on.
Absolutely. We say 99.99999% is, space. And yet, what is in that space? And,
Oh,
that's
apparently,
all potential, right? That's all possibilities. What did you say?
apparently it's full.
It is
It's
full.
very
It
full. Yeah.
is full. And how do we a hold of that and, get it into our reality? And I say we grab a hold of it with the paintbrush and, pull it in, allowing the paintbrush to be like a divining rod. The way that you're channeling through your crown all the way down to your heart and then out through your hand onto the canvas. You become a channeler, right? You become the vehicle.
Yeah. Love it. It's good stuff. That's good stuff. Is there anything else you want to share with us today on this podcast?
I just love sharing my quote, which is, remember, your history is not your destiny. And every moment is a new moment for you to be able to create life the way you want to see it. So, however you envision it to be, the world is waiting. Someone out there is waiting for you, for the gift that you are, to reach out and make them an offer. So, step into your power and start making offers and invite people into your world, because I know that every person listening to this podcast is being called to serve at a higher and a greater level, because so many people are suffering right now in today's world. And so, what can we do as individuals? We can keep our vibration high so that when we meet somebody, we can help ground them and then, give them our offerings, whatever it is, if it's a smile or a hug or a kind word. Sometimes that might be the only word that person hears in their, or maybe even their whole week, because there's so many people walking around all by themselves in this world, and loneliness is an epidemic. But separation is an illusion, and reach out for help if you need it. Don't be afraid, because that's what I did for so many years, was just try to tough it out all by myself. And like you said, accountability and support, oh my gosh, I just thrive on those these days, and I love it. I love asking to co-create and collaborate, and let's do this together, because it's so much more fun doing things together.
Absolutely. And there's so many people out there right now too that are in that space, and it's about lifting each other. It's not about competing and who's better and stepping on somebody else to get yourself above them. It's not like that. It's so different. It's understanding, perception, like just the whole energy is so great. Yeah.
I think it's a shift from, the real masculine, kind of aggressive, competitive pushing, to the beautiful pull of the feminine and just surrendering and, like you said, collaborating and cooperating, right? That's what's being called for right now, because the world is becoming so much more intimate with each other. We see what's going on now across the world, and we can't we longer ignore what's happening in other places, and we can no longer ignore what's happening in ourselves. So we got to get right in ourselves, creating that inner peace, and then we'll be able to manifest that outward, right, in our environment.
Right. And then where you're at is what you're attracting. So if we can lift ourselves, like, and just fake till you make it, really, right? To just work on getting your thoughts and visions of, your best life, your best self. Yeah. And then that's how we can shift. Yeah. Yeah.
And just remembering, for every time you're feeling down, there's an equal opportunity waiting for you to feel up again. Because, it's that beautiful, the unalome symbol. I like painting that. It starts out with a little seed, and then you go around in a spiral, and then it goes up, and then it goes down, and then it goes back and forth, and up and down and back and forth. And it's just this continual process of evolution where you get a little more insight, a little more progress, you fall back, you do the same things you did before, and then you go, oh, I'm going to do that different next time. And then you do it different next time. And then you get a little better, a little stronger, a little taller. Growing a oak tree from a seed takes a long time. And so giving ourselves that space and grace and being patient with ourselves, I think is what's being called for right now. And just, handling yourself like with that unconditional self-love that we talked about at the beginning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's to have this knowledge, I believe. What we have in the mainstream, it's not working. We're getting sicker, we're stressed, there's just so much that our body manifests in that fear-based state that we really need to help ourselves.
And I think we are helping ourselves, and I think it's hard at a time though, and a lot of heart-to-heart discussions and conversations. One-to-many is great, and nothing can change the human heart faster than having somebody one-to-one just being there, listening, hearing, and witnessing what's going on with that other person. So reach out, to a friend you haven't talked to for a long time. I'm talking to myself always. Reach out and connect, because I always feel better after I have reached out and talked with somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, we're meant to be together. We're not meant to be alone. Yeah. And you're right. I believe that the loneliness is one of the largest diseases on our planet. And that the COVID and the fear and the separation and that created was really, really damaging for our human souls. So
yeah, I think one last thing is, we have to our lives. Otherwise our lives practice us, right?
yeah.
And so it's us stepping out of our comfort zones, doing something a little uncomfortable, a little bit at a time, just getting ourselves more and more strong so that we're able to withstand when the big things come along, like COVID. And I was so grateful that I had been practicing my Buddhist practice for 34 years or 33 years when that struck, because oh my God, I've been training for 33 years for this exact moment in time so that I won't be taken down by this. And just having some kind of practice, especially a spiritual practice that you believe in with your whole heart, is what we all need. We all need that, I think. I think we need something to believe in and something to feel certain about. And when you have that belief and certainty in yourself, man, life becomes so much easier to walk through.
Yeah, because you feel safe, right? You feel like, protected, feel connected. It's a very different place. Yeah. It was great chatting with you today, Lili.
So good to talk with you, Jacqueline. We have a lot in common.
Let's go to Croatia. That sounds great to me.
Paint with me.
I think I'm going to have a good look at that. My daughter would love that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thanks for listening.
Oh, thanks for hanging out. I love it. I love it. I look forward to touching base again soon, and we'll put all of your credentials and how people can get a hold of you with our podcast.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, have a good rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me about how we can become the best version of ourselves. See you next time.